What's up, everybody? Thanks for listening to the Whatcast. Mike, since that weird-ass fucking UFO came into the spotlight that they're calling the jellyfish UFO.
Oh, the Imperial drone thing.
Yeah, I really don't get the jellyfish thing other than, I mean, for me...
There's tentacle things, but I wouldn't call it a jellyfish.
No, my mind is Imperial probe. Like, instantly. It looks like that more than a jellyfish to me.
Yeah, I mean they missed some branding opportunities there with that one. They could have been calling it the I suppose probably Imperial probe droid or whatever it's called it's probably trademarked by Disney, but they could have called it a Star Wars drone or something.
Right? Can you imagine like seeing the footage in a slight blue hue instead of that infrared, and then having it pan out and it being like a holographic projection that Darth Maul's looking at?
Yeah, or Luke on the sands of Hoth, or the snows of Hoth. Yeah, taking it. Or I suppose it was Chewbacca that saw it, wasn't it?
Probably.
Yeah.
We've covered giant jellyfish that were seen in the sky, and that one was more of like an actual jellyfish, not this drone-looking thing. And it reminded me of an article that I had in my back pocket that I wanted to talk about.
Were you still able to read it? I mean, I feel like if you've been keeping it in your back pocket, probably it's all creased and crinkled and faded at this point.
No, I read it through osmosis. I just sat down.
Oh, my ass absorbs the knowledge, so I don't have to.
Some say it's a learning disability, but I call it a learning...
I call it more of a learning ability.
Yeah. I just sit on dictionaries, close my eyes.
My ass is ravenous.
But funny enough, we've never covered giant jellyfish in the ocean. And we've talked about giant squids and stuff like that, but not giant jellyfish. And that's what this article touches on. And it talks about a few encounters people have had with what they can, to the best of their ability, describe as giant jellyfish. And the first case I wanted to talk about here is brief, and they each have quotes from people who have seen them. So the first one I wanted to talk about comes from a book entitled Great World Mysteries by Eric Russell that came out in 1967. And he included the tale of an Australian diver. Some sources named the diver as Christopher Loeb, who is testing new deep-sea diving gear. Now, this is a quote about what he saw during this encounter. Mike, since you have the lovely reading voice, we'll have you read the quote.
All right. All the way down, I was followed by a 15-foot shark which circled around full of curiosity but made no attempt to attack. I kept wondering how far down he would go. He was still hanging around some 30 feet from me and about 20 feet higher when I reached a ledge below, which was a great black chasm of enormous depth. It being dangerous to venture farther, I stood looking into the chasm while the shark waited for my next move. Suddenly, the water became distinctly colder, while the temperature continued to drop with surprising rapidity. I saw a black mass rising from the darkness of the chasm. It floated upwards very slowly. As at last light reached it, I could see that it was a dull brown color and tremendous size, a flat, ragged-edged thing about 1 acre in extent. It pulsated sluggishly, and I knew that it was alive despite its lack of visible limbs or eyes. Still pulsating, this frightful vision floated past my level, by which time the coldness had become almost intense. The shark now hung completely motionless, paralyzed either by cold or fear. While I watched fascinated, the enormous brown thing reached the shark, contacted him with its upper surface. The shark gave a concussive shiver and was drawn unresisting into the substance of the monster. I stood perfectly still, not daring to move while the brown thing sank back into the chasm as slowly as it had emerged. Darkness swallowed it, and the water started to regain some warmth. God knows what this thing was, but I had no doubt that it had been born of the primeval slime countless fathoms below. That last line really sounds like a line from a Lovecraft story.
Yeah, it does.
For real.
The whole thing sounds like a fucking Lovecraft story.
Yeah, it does. Like it's the Shoggoths from the Antarctica, and there they are in the ocean now.
So what do you think about this encounter?
I think it's a fucking Shoggoth is what I think. They uncovered some Lovecraftian beasts in the depths, and now we're all fucked. You woke it up, buddy. When did this happen? Do you know the time frame?
No, not the time frame, not the time of day. I know the book came out in 1974, and I believe the encounter took place in 1968.
Okay. So I think if they woke something from the depths, likely we would have already been fucked. So I think we're all right. It was a one-time thing, and it just wanted to snack on some shark.
Yeah.
We're good.
A 15-foot shark's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. 15-foot shark is I mean, especially like there's only a few sharks that can get that big. There's a great white, the basking shark, a whale shark, and I think the Greenland shark can get around 20 feet.
Yes, sir.
Tiger sharks I don't think can get that big even. So that would be pretty intense itself, just having a fucking 15-foot shark tracking you.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought was scary about the fucking story.
You'd flash your nipples and be like, eh?
I find it strange, the description, and then it being called a jellyfish. I mean, he even describes it as a monster.
It sounds more like a blob or something.
Right, no appendages.
And the fact that it absorbed the shark through the surface, rather like with jellyfish have the dangling tentacles that they paralyze their prey with, and then they eat it from underneath. They don't eat it through the top of their body.
Right. I'm gonna send you a sketch of a supposed giant jellyfish that was seen, and the way it looks here, maybe they're not seeing the tentacles. Take a look at this. Maybe they're just seeing its dome and considering that this mass.
But the thing, all right, so I'm looking at this picture, and that picture looks like a jellyfish for sure.
Right.
But the thing that gets me is the shark was absorbed through the top of it. It just made contact with it and absorbed the shark. And that's not how jellyfish work.
That's not how they do. Yeah, so right away, I think we're dealing something with an animal that's unknown to us. I mean, like, we get a demonstration of a feeding habit here.
Yeah, it eats like the fucking blob.
Yeah. Well, as strange as this description is, pretty much every one that we're going to talk about, we got a couple more, the description match this same Australian diver's sighting. In 1974, researcher Richard Weiner, who's famous for studying the Bermuda Triangle, so this is somebody who spends a lot of time on the ocean, made mention of seeing a monster, quote, jellyfish in his book, The Devil's Triangle. This one I find interesting because there's multiple witnesses. Witnesses were interviewed later and confirmed what was seen.
I had just finished filming the movement of an instrumentation buoy in rough seas. The last of my film had run through the camera when my safety diver, Pat Boatwright, grabbed... How convenient is that name, by the way? I'm Pat Boatwright. I'm a safety diver. Better boat right with Pat Boatwright. Hey, Pat Boatwright here. Better boat right.
We're in good hands. Pat Boatwright's here.
Oh, God. All right. I'm sorry. So anyway, Pat Boatwright grabbed me by the shoulder and pointed downward. It was late in the afternoon, and the rough seas were distorting the light that penetrated into the depths. What I saw was phenomenal. How deep it was, or its size, I couldn't tell. It might have been 100 feet beneath us, maybe 150. Its size I could only guess at, maybe 100 feet across, possibly 75, but no less than 50 in diameter. It was perfectly round. Its color was a deep purple. It was moving slowly upward toward us. At its outer perimeter, there was a form of pulsation, but there was no movement of water. As we started for the surface, it stopped its ascent. Then slowly it began to descend into the blackening depths. Awe-stricken, we watched until it was no more. So that's interesting. As they started to move to the surface, it stopped moving towards them and started going back down. So I wonder if it needs a certain depth to maintain its structure. And if it gets
Ooh.
too high, like there's not enough pressure to keep its structure, and it would like deflate or something.
Right, in both cases, this thing's not surfacing.
Right. And here maybe it was actually going for this guy to eat him, and then they got too high up, and then it's like, missed my opportunity. Went back down. He could have been digested alive.
Right? It was all okay. Just went back down.
Yeah, just sinks back down like a underwater sarlacc pit.
Oh God.
So this one's deep purple in color, but there's a weird similarity between dark purple and brown colors. And so I would say that, it could possibly be the same sort of thing.
Right, yeah. I mean, who knows if the sunlight's playing any effect on what he's seeing through the water with colors anyway in that aspect. And again, very similar. He says, like, it's perfectly round. We're not seeing tentacles here. And the size of this thing, I mean, that must have been terrifying to seeing something that was at least 50 feet across.
Yeah, 50 feet across minimum. But the other dude said it was a fucking acre, didn't he?
Yeah.
An acre. Like, that's gargantuan.
Yeah.
So, like, these guys saw a baby. Maybe that's why it was purple instead of brown. It hadn't quite developed its shit color yet.
Right. It hasn't, like, been to the surface too many times and the sun's bleached out its natural purple color yet.
Yeah.
Well, 2 years later, during an interview...
2 years later.
During an interview, he confirmed his story and actually drew a picture during the interview, which I just sent to you now. And again, it's so weird. He's got little things coming off the outer surface of this thing, but again, it's perfectly round.
Oh, wow. The pink edge was pulsating.
I wonder how many times people are going to clip you saying pulsating from this episode.
Yeah. Pulsating. So his drawing, it looks like one of those single-celled organisms, like the microscopic organisms that you'd see under a microscope lens.
Exactly.
Like in a drop of water.
Yeah.
But this thing's fucking 50 feet across. Like, somebody's fucking around with the shrinky growy ray.
Have you seen those things that wash up on the beach sometimes? They're just like little blobs, round little blobs, and it almost looks like they have a nucleus.
Yeah.
What if it's like a giant living one of those?
What if those are like, what wash up are like after they have their first molt? Like they hatch in shallow water, and then after they molt for the first time, that's what washes ashore.
Yeah.
These little globs.
Ew.
And we're like, oh, they're just fat deposits or whatever. And no, they're fucking eldritch horror molting things. And it's gross. Don't touch it.
Ever.
Don't touch it. You'll start hearing the fucking Song of Cthulhu. Madness lies that way. Don't do it.
You'll unwillingly but willingly march into the ocean.
Yeah, and go fuck a fish person, have some hybrid babies, and go live in a nice little town off the coast of Massachusetts.
Another case I came across was from an anonymous source that made a post somewhere. And he told a story that was told to them by a friend who was an underwater welder who, while working in the Gulf of Mexico, witnessed some strange giant creatures. Now, this is weird. I forget the year. Let me look real quick because I want to know how old the person who's saying this is, because these descriptions are weird. Okay, so the gentleman who told him this story died in 1994. So apparently an older gentleman, but he said that while working as an underwater welder in this area, he saw something that he described as strange giant invertebrates and something he described as, quote, giant headless glowing living fire horses.
What?
Yeah.
Giant headless living fire horses.
Giant headless glowing living fire horses.
What?
And
that's bonkers.
And he also spoke of something that was even bigger than those things that would feed on these fire horses. And I guess whoever ran the website actually reached out and contacted this person and got this quote from them.
My friend George Hale was unable to describe the predator in detail. It was too big and too close to him. It was as big to him as you are to an ant. As a matter of fact, he had to ascend PDQ because he was in fear of being crushed like a bug. But the predator had a pallor and skin texture like a sea anemone, and it might have been built along the lines of a starfish or a freshwater pond hydra, and it was eating the firehorse entity by swallowing it. Its method of propulsion is a mystery. So, do you know, are you familiar with the freshwater pond hydras?
Yes, I have seen those creepy things.
Yeah. And they're like fucking microscopic, they're so tiny. And if that thing was giant,
holy horseshit.
Fuck no, man. Fuck no. So scary. So this one actually sounds a little bit different, but it still sounds like a Lovecraftian horror.
It does, for it being that big. I mean, to use that analogy, that's weird. That's insane proportions.
Yeah, like put that into scale. But that's terrifying.
Yeah, and then saying he had to maneuver out of its way out of fear of being crushed.
I mean, honestly, like, even if he said it was a starfish that size, that would be one of the scariest things I could conceive of.
Yeah, there's some further writing on this one, and somebody suggested it might have been maybe a starfish type creature, and he didn't argue that. He said possibly he didn't know. I mean, the story was told to him, but that's just, I don't know. Like every one of these stories is talking about something goddamn gigantic. That's fucking. We all know how I feel about the ocean and big things, so fuck all that shit. That no, I mean, I don't.
No, thank you.
This started back in the 60s, and I got another case here from 1968. A Chilean hydrographic expedition reported to the press that they saw something that matched the description of the Australian diver's case. Something that gigantic that was a brownish mass. And I mean, one of the most recent sightings comes from 2005. A French scuba diver named Henry Astor reported seeing, quote, a very strange dark mass swim up to a school of fish, paralyze them, and then eat them. And he reported that to the press as well.
And that's what happened to the shark in the first story. It got paralyzed and then absorbed.
Exactly. There was another case of a group of Russian explorers, I believe, reporting something, and they decided to dig into it and found the Australian diver's story as well. And they dug into it, and they're the ones who actually found the guy's name. And their sighting matched up with his as well.
That's crazy, man. What? So it seems like it's not just one place,
No,
this thing is or these things, I should say, if it's like a species. Like, I don't think it's like one thing just bebopping around the ocean, but, obviously whatever these things are seen in multiple places around the world.
Yeah, the Australian diver reported his stuff. The welder was in the Gulf of Mexico. The French guy in 2005 was in Thailand.
Yeah, so that's all over the place.
Yeah, all
Crazy.
over. Mm-hmm. Very strange for such a bizarre description of a creature. I wanted to like a 3D model this and print it out, but I just don't know how, other than to make like a blobby type of thing.
Yeah, it just like, okay, you made a hunk of melted plastic. Way to go.
Exactly. I was surprised to see so many cases of something like this, and then to have them all match up.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, that there's a lot of similarities, especially between the first and second case. The third one's a bit different, but still fucking terrifying.
Absolutely. I'm a little bored with aliens. There hasn't been any cool ghost stuff in a long time, like any good ghost video. I don't know if that's because they're more unbelievable now, not because they look bad. It's just they're so easy to fake and reproduce these days. I know that we keep our tabs up on a YouTube channel that puts out really, really, really good ghost videos pretty regularly, and like even the past few videos of those have been disappointing.
Honestly, I haven't even watched the past few just because it's all like the same type of stuff now, like the ghost knocks or like cabinets opening and I just you can't have that many things actually happening and have documentation that this stuff is ongoing and have it all be real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the stuff that they're trying to pass off as ghost footage stuff these days is just, to me, silly. I mean, there's like 5 different videos of people walking around outside, sometimes somewhere remote, sometimes in their backyard, and they're reacting as if they're hearing something strange. And it's just the same audio clip in all these videos. It's just so dumb. It's almost annoying. I don't even care to watch that caliber of video anymore. But being bored with all that stuff, I really want to see some weird sea monster stuff. I sent you a TikTok earlier today.
Yeah.
And I've seen it before earlier in the week, and I was like, "Meh," and then it just kept popping up everywhere. But I wanted you to see it so bad. To me, it looks CGI, but
yeah, it's absolutely CGI.
Yeah, it's some footage of supposed plesiosaur swimming alongside of a boat, which is probably not true. It said something about that the locals say that they're harmless to humans. I fucking doubt if that was real, they wouldn't be harmless to humans. But I'm waiting for some fucking sea monster shit, dude. I want some cool shit to come out of the ocean. That jellyfish UFO supposedly going into the ocean. What was the final word on that? It was. You said it.
I don't think so. So the dude who was the one who actually saw the original video said nowhere in the video is there footage of this thing going into the water and shooting out, but he said that there was footage of it going over a lake or something and hovering there. But Beardface McWatchy said that he saw footage where it went into the water for 17 minutes and then shot out of the water again.
17 minutes. That's a long time.
Yeah. But I always want more shit in the fucking ocean or water. Like spooky, scary sea monster stuff is that's where I want to start looking at now. Because like you said, I'm fucking sick of aliens at this point. Like, just unless we get some like weird somebody claiming some weird shit like the Hopkinsville case or Mothman or something.
I mean, I'll take a good Travis Walton story at this point.
No, I'm sick of abduction stories now too. They're all, you hear one, you hear them all. Unless somebody, like, I want to hear stories of someone being abducted by angels. That's the shit I want to hear now.
Ooh.
Oh, fuck your aliens. I want to hear fairy and angel abductions only.
Yeah. I long for another Rockhead Jellyfish Man story.
Oh, please, give me some drill hands or some dick nose aliens. Anything, I'm sick of Greys. Fuck off, Greys. Nobody likes you stink. And goddamn reptilians can suck all the dicks. I hate those guys. Just give me something cool again. I want aliens to be cool again.
Yeah, there's just it's either like the gray thing. I mean, like even doing this show for 10 years now, dude. I don't know what to think about Paul Hellyer saying there's at least 11 to 12 different species of alien operating on this earth and with the governments. I don't know what to think about people reporting seeing mantises or even tall grays. It's so weird for me, almost a little bit out there. But at the same time, I'm not naive enough to believe that not only are we not alone in the fucking whole universe, but there's bound to be more than one species. Star Wars so does that, right? But I mean, I now it's just like a question mark. I don't know. I mean, we're seeing such weird craft. Even the Black Knight satellite freaks me out still. Like there's some footage of craft that look like that thing floating around out there now. There's footage. I'm gonna send you something, Mike, right now. What do we do with shit like this, with footage like this coming out every goddamn week? The Greys are the ones that fly the disc-shaped UFOs. What's doing this? What the fuck is this?
Oh, that's definitely not aliens. It's leaving a smoke plume, and it looks like fucking flame trails.
Yeah, but it's like not. I mean, there was no report about a jetliner crashing that was on fire. You know, that I've seen in the news at all. I just like dealing with Instagram. I see videos like that every fucking day now, and that's it's just so abnormal. And that jellyfish UFO thing just put it over the edge for me. It's moving further away from UFOs into more weirder territory.
Yeah, and they're talking multi-dimensional beings now, like, and we talked about I forgot what podcast we went on. I think it was last year. Where we were talking about like the paranormal side of Bigfoot, but we got into talking about what UFOs could possibly be, and we were talking on there they could be potentially energy bodies that like. These are non-physical beings, so they travel in like an energy body rather than like a craft of some sort. They just kind of create like a Merkaba or like an aura around themselves that allows them to enter into our reality. And maybe that's like what the UFOs we're seeing, because a lot of the people that have seen them relatively close, like the Phoenix Lights, for instance, or what's his name, Peniston. I can't remember his rank, but in the
Rendlesham
case, yeah. When they talk about the lights, they talk about it as not being like a light bulb. Like they said, it's more of like a plasma type of thing, where it like it glows, but it's not exactly giving off light.
Right.
So it sounds like that's part of the thing, the lights, and it's not because really think about it. If you've got spacecraft, you're flying through space, doing all sorts of wacky shit. Why the fuck do you need lights? You don't need headlights on your spacecraft. You're traveling. You're going interstellar distances. Like, who the fuck are you signaling to in deep space?
Right, like at the speed of light too.
Yeah. Like you're plotting that shit out and hitting the button, and then you're going. You're not gonna need fucking signal lights like a plane or a helicopter does. So there's got to be a purpose to that, or a reason for it. And I think maybe that. And I remember. I can't remember if it was Travis Walton or Whitley Strieber, but they said that the crafts were more like living entities than they were machines.
I believe that was Walton.
And that's crazy to me. That's wild. And I remember hearing someone else that, and this is all coming from people that claim to have been abducted, but I remember somebody else talking about how they had the ability to grow ships. Like they don't build them, they grow them. So like a crystal, maybe, like you can grow a crystal, like not like a plant, like, oh, let me go to the backyard and grab my fucking spaceship tree and see if anything's blooming yet.
That's weird. Maybe that's why they're taking people. Or maybe they're fucking building material.
Maybe. Ew, gross. I don't like that. Have you seen Nope?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh my God, you gotta see Nope, dude. There's a scene in it that's the most fucked up, terrifying depiction of what the potential people that get abducted might be getting abducted for.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me after we're done.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but holy fuck is it scary. But if you want to know when we're not recording, I will definitely tell you.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
But just to add on to what you were saying, I mean, you don't need headlights if you're flying through outer space. That's true. Yeah. And then you saying that they're like energy bodies. That it reminds me of that Lights in the Sky documentary, that Krista Alexander one, where she was pointing out they almost look like cells. Like
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
yep.
I mean, It's called Lights in the Sky. Came out in 2020. So if you guys want to look that up and watch it, I suggest you do. I think it's on Amazon Prime and Pluto TV actually. So I think you can watch it there. I mean, I have like a whole UFO channel, but yeah, I think I'm going to rewatch that because they're just appearing and they change shape and stuff like that. And it really, really, really looks like energy. I don't know if you remember that documentary well and what she showed, but I think do you think that kind of lines up with interdimensional travel rather than space travel?
Yeah, definitely.
Damn, man. I'm going to have to rewatch that documentary then because, yeah. Shit may be weirder than aliens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely think. And that to me, that's really interesting as well. I don't know. I'm just really sick of fucking aliens. Like if we had like I don't know, anything that just would open a portal and walk through and be like, yo, I'm from parallel Earth and this is what we look like there. What's up? I'm like, oh shit, you've got a dick nose. Yeah, man, we all have dick noses over there.
And we like to party.
And all our females have drill hands. Oh my God, we never knew it. The whole time they're the same race. They just look very different.
Yeah. And we're seeing that with shit in the ocean now. If these were to believe these reports of stuff that massive, I mean, that's not even...
Yeah.
That's almost like not an animal-related thing. It's something else living in the ocean.
I mean, yeah, you say an acre, like that's almost inconceivable as being something that is a living animal.
Yeah. And I wouldn't consider a living animal. I would consider like maybe a huge hyper colony of algae or something like that. But if they're watching
or a fungus or something.
Yeah. But if they're watching it attack shit and absorb it, eat it, I guess, what the fuck? I mean, it's clearly a living thing. The Australian diver made a point to mention that it was alive. It was clearly a living thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say based on the fact that it can move up and down and also stun something would indicate that at least, if not alive, that something is controlling it.
That's weird.
But for real, like this shit sounds like something written out of a Lovecraft story.
Sure does.
Like combine that with fucking giant squids and fish people, and basically we've got the entire Cthulhu mythos. The lights in the sky are Yog-Sothoth. And all the cryptids are Nyarlathotep, just in disguise.
Yeah.
Creating chaos.
Breaking the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah. Just karate chopping them with bombs.
Well, sorry to wrap this one up so early, guys. My injury is still not 100%. I have a standing desk, and I'm standing, sitting, kneeling, everything, and I gotta fucking get off my fucking leg. So sorry it's short, but thank you for listening and joining us. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Here's the thing, guys. We'll give you all a cheeseburger if we meet you.
Yeah, instant cheeseburger. No matter where we meet, we're gonna be like, hold on, let's go. We gotta find out.
Yep, cheeseburger. So if you ever meet us, you can redeem your one free cheeseburger.
Right. Yeah. Just mention my injury, and that will cue us to be like, up, cheeseburger time.
Yeah. Or just say, where's my fucking cheeseburger? Like, don't even introduce yourself. Just walk up and say, where's my fucking cheeseburger?
And I'll be like, all right, let's go.
All right, yeah.
If you want a hamburger,
we immediately need to go to the nearest cheeseburger dispensary and acquire one.
Right. If you want just a hamburger, we can't help you.
No. Don't even ask for a hamburger. I'll fucking kick you right in the nuts.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.